paper, gold, and silver prices were smashed today on news yesterday that the Fed may raise interest rates twice in the next 18 to 24 months. Although the probability of that, in my opinion, is probably close to zero, considering how leveraged all these trades are and how each quarter point hike now could potentially crash asset markets and the corporate bond bubble and the government bond bubble as well. But in this short little video, I wanted to talk about the Fed's balance sheet. So last week, I noticed a weird discrepancy. There was reports going around by Reuters and elsewhere that the Fed's balance sheet topped $8 trillion for the first time. But last week, the Fed's official balance sheet on the St. Louis Fed website did not say $8 trillion. I have a screenshot there on your screen that it actually said $7.952 trillion from June 9th. So it was going around saying it was $8 trillion or over $8 trillion last week. But this week, the Fed's balance sheet in only a week is up $112 billion. So while you're hearing this talk about reverse repos, over $500 billion, I think it hit over $700 billion today, talking about how QE is canceled, the reality of this situation. So on one hand, you have this liquidity that's supposedly being taken out overnight, only overnight, by the way, 500 billion, 700 billion, only overnight. But the reality is still the size of the U.S. federal government budget deficits and the lack of foreign demand buying U.S. treasuries compared to the last 15 to 20 years. So the Fed's balance sheet, the official balance sheet, is up $112 billion in just a week. Meanwhile, the official narrative is the Fed's going to raise interest rates, the economy's doing well, even though inflation's overheating, but a lot of the spin and the narrative is it's good inflation, especially from Janet Yellen. That's the spin, that's the official narrative from the PhD economists and Wall Street and the Fed, is that it's good inflation, it's demand-driven inflation. Sorry, I can't help laughing how ridiculous this all is. So there's the false narratives that the Fed is going to taper, the Fed's going to hike rates, the Fed's going to stop QE, versus the reality of the Fed's balance sheet going up insane amounts in only a week, the reality of the size of the budget deficits that the U.S. federal government is running, and the reality of the lack of foreign demand of U.S. treasuries compared to the demand of the last 10, 15, 20 years. Now, maybe the demand will change for foreign buyers of U.S. treasuries, but as of now, the demand levels I've seen, and there was a tiny amount of demand spikes recently in the last couple weeks for net foreign demand of U.S. treasuries, it's nowhere near the demand levels that it was 2016, 17, 18, and 19 prior to the pandemic. Obviously, I think the Fed's official balance sheet is phony. I think there's trillions being moved off balance sheet into special purpose vehicles. And I think this reverse repo, taper talk, hike interest rates, and QE narrative is false. So if you want to take a look at some of the articles, I'll put them in the links in the information and description section. If you want to take a look at the Fed's official balance sheet, I'll also put a link to it on the St. Louis Fed's website. But the bottom line here is the Fed's official balance sheet went up enormously and paper gold prices were smashed. Good luck getting physical gold and silver at low premiums. I just checked. The premiums did not go down with this paper price smash. So the cost of actually getting your hands on ounces of metal has not fallen significantly. Finally, if you like content like this and want to help keep content like this free so it doesn't all end up behind a paywall, please consider chipping in $5 a month and becoming a patron. There is almost 170 articles, charts, and audio podcasts behind the paywall, including 11 new articles out in just the last 5 or so weeks. And there's also a 45-minute long interview with Sandstorm Gold CEO Nolan Watson that is exclusive for patrons. I think it is one of the best deals out there. A lot of my competitors charge $10, $20, $30 a month for much worse content, research, analysis, and financial education. There is an enormous amount of research behind the paywall for the cost of a bad cup of coffee. And if you don't like it, you can always cancel, although I think it's one of the best deals out there, especially in this space. So thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. Bottom line here, the Fed's balance sheet is rocketing higher while the false narratives are taper talk, QE is being removed with reverse repos, the economy is doing well because of good inflation, because of demand-driven inflation, and other BS as part of stagflate tax lie, or management of perception economics, or MOPE, as Jim Sinclair calls it.